Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us around the world. It's time for the bout you've all been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight just to land on the line.
What up, boxing fans? This is the Rope and Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We are live on a Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing okay. It's kind of a later afternoon, but we're back. We are back, and we have a lot to talk about. No doubt about it. Like I said, I hope everybody's doing okay. Christmas is around the corner. Obviously, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas. Maybe you don't even celebrate anything. That's cool, too. All that good stuff. Anyway, we're back. We are back. And obviously, Canelo and Golovkin both fought last weekend. Pretty one-sided fights, to say the least. A lot of us kind of quickly started thinking, okay, what's next? What's next for Canelo? We're going to break down Canelo against Callum Smith. We're going to break down, of course, Golovkin, a couple other fights that went on on Showtime or FS1 or NBC Sports Network, which I guess a couple of weeks ago I forgot to cover a Ring City, which happens on Thursday, by the way. So it happened on Thursday, and I do a show on Tuesday. Sometimes I forget, but yes, someone was not. Actually, two people, maybe they're buddies, but they were not happy at me, or happy about me not covering it. So I apologize. I will speak upon it this week because they did have a show. Anyway, we're going to talk about that. We'll preview the super light weekend, the COVID. We all know the COVID affected some fights down the stretch here, especially for PBC. Especially in December, my God. Fox main event, nothing to even sneeze at. We'll talk about the other stuff on the random schedule. However, so it's not going to be a preview weekend, right? And next week we will do, probably on a Monday more than likely, we will do a year-end show. Also, we'll, preview Ryan Garcia and Campbell as well. So we do have some news, though. There's a great fight in February that DAZN announced, and I figured they announced a fight or two, being that, they had that 4-month thing. And somebody else called me out. I got a lot of DMs and private messages and messages through Facebook or whatever, and text messages that, quite funny. I guess I didn't rip the DAZN pay-per-view, even though I explained that whole thing. Anyway, good fight that they announced. We'll talk about that. Showtime announced some fights as well. Lomachenko. I have the title, Vasily Wanma Lomachenko, obviously in reference to bribery. Remember, Wanma said this dude's a degenerate gambler and they paid him off or something like that, or maybe he put the bet down. I think that's what it was. But Lomachenko saying the judges were bribed, even though I just saw on Boxing Twitter, and of course we'll have our Boxing Twitter segment along with fight news as well. I just saw Doug Fisher said, well, he said he was misquoted, and unless you know the language, then you don't really have basically like a foot to stand on. That's the first time I heard that he was misquoted. I really don't know because I didn't transcribe it. Okay. So I will be responding to a variety of things, actually. Somebody said I ducked, Ring City, I ducked that, and they said, well, we'll get into it. They said basically Ring City puts Showbox to sleep. It's taken over, and the NBC Sports Network gets bigger ratings than FS1 and Showtime. Okay. Double. Okay. All right. So, sorry, I'm really just reading this other one here. So, yeah. Loma is out there. Golovkin's trying to catch a body. Loma talking about bribe judges. Usyk was talking about gloves with Chisora. Kovalev is, just Kovalev. Where is all the crazy stuff on Twitter about it? I didn't really see too many editorial pieces written up on the Loma situation. I did hear a couple people say, come on, dude. Or not a couple. I saw a few. But they sure didn't make it that big of a deal. He just said that they were bribed. Dude, you lost the fight. So we're going to get into it. We're also going to get into that MTK Global Golden Boy from Moshe Kinahan lawsuit. Jake Donovan, by the way, nice in-depth but readable. In-depth, readable, not super long considering the content. Jake Donovan, one of the best, if not the best, reporters out there doing his thing. You should go read it on Boxing Scene right now. We'll cover a little bit about it because it is just a lawsuit. It may be a warning shot. It may be real deal business. All we know is MTK Global. We'll get into it. So yeah, like I said, there's a variety of things to talk about if you want to talk or listen to the show. If you listen to the browser right now, 646-381-4990 is the number to dial. That is 646-381-4990. Did I just say 2 nines or 3 nines? I did not get a ton of sleep last night. I'm not complaining. I'm not bitching. Sometimes you got to get stuff done, and I was deep into something. It wasn't what you're thinking, okay? I would never complain about that, staying up late for that. But, life gets in the way sometimes. So I am a little bit out of it, just so you know. So be careful. You never know. I should be careful. See what I mean? I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, we're going to get to it. Oh, my God, what the hell? Oh, boy, we're going to have fun in our boxing Twitter, or not, even before that. Okay, so anyway, if this is your first time listening to the Rope and Dope Radio podcast, welcome. It streams live right here like it's doing right now on blogtalkradio.com/Rope and Dope Radio. It streams live and archives all that good stuff. It started out as just a boxing channel. We did maneuver into football and basketball as well. If you're interested, if not, that's cool. That's dope. No problem. But you don't have to go to Blog Talk, Rope and Dope Radio, and download the show directly from there if you don't want to. You don't have to listen to the browser. You can find this platform, Rope and Dope Radio Podcast, at Apple Podcast. Rate and review helps the show there. I keep forgetting to say that. iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker. We're really all across the board almost. Also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, which can be found almost everywhere, including Spotify. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. It's boxing, it's football, it's baseball, it's basketball, it's everything in between. One more thing, quickly. If you're thinking about cutting the cord, or you're not quite happy, I got something for you. It's called AT&T TV Now with live streaming cable. They have the 7-day free trial, no annual contract. You can stream it anywhere. They have the cloud DVR, of course. The plans start as low as $55 a month. And just for signing up, you get a free month of HBO Max, 30-day free trial. If you sign up for the Max, which is a step up, the Max package, that includes HBO Max, plus a free month of Showtime. $11 is the normal price for Showtime boxing fans. Just so you know, AT&T TV Now, like I said, live streaming cable. Okay. Like I mentioned previously, there was nothing wrong with Callum Smith in general, right? Obviously, boxing can be a what have you done for me lately type sport, of course, as we know. And, what he had done lately was not look good in a Ryder fight. It happens, though. It happens. Whether people use the excuse or reason that they couldn't get up for a fight because it's, I'm going to fight better this time because I care about it even more or whatever. That happens, but I think that excuse gets a little overdrawn. I think some people just fight the levels, whatever it is. But coming into this one, just breaking it down. Now the size, we know, almost 8 inches, and of reach. I'll finish that sentence. For Callum, who's a fine boxer. Nothing. Dude's tough. Obviously, he's got a good ass chin too. A lot of people said he was just surviving. He didn't really try to win. Some people took some of that back when they saw his arm after. We'll talk about that. But in the end, it wasn't really going to be all that competitive beyond the first handful of rounds, and that's basically what it was. The jab, yeah, you can use your jab, but if you're not controlling distance and you're not moving on the outside like really well, like that's your skill, that's what you do best, then that reach is null and void. There's nothing, it's nullified. There's nothing you can, and when that's the thing, Callum comes forward. He's a come forward fighter, really. So there was, that's shrinking your reach. Now, if you're playing a skill fest in the middle of the ring, which I wouldn't play with Canelo if I were Callum Smith, but if you were to, then you could at least make, you could say, well, the reach would help you there, and that's true, but he's just not going to outbox. Anyway, it started out, a little slow, a couple of body shots, a couple of stiff jabs, that was from Canelo Smith. He landed some jabs or whatever. The body attack pretty early on, Canelo was just taking care of business that way. Smith did have like a more active third round, but it really didn't matter. The cleaner punches, 2 punches at a time as well from Canelo, that did it. The uppercuts started coming out, that's for sure. Some hard right hands with left hooks. Canelo was mixing up the punches really, really well. He stood on that jab, and it was an affirmative jab. Just really destroying the body. You could slowly tell how much he was destroying that body. So mixing it up every which way, turning up the heat, probably in the 7th, I think he hit him in the 6th with a really hard right hand pretty early on, 30, 40 seconds in there, and then a body shot. And some more good short shots, too. But he started really, really, really walking him down. 7th, 8th, 9th. He buzzed him. He knocked him to the ropes. He just beat the crap out of him. The scorecards read 119 to 109. That's 2 of them. And then 117, did I write there? Yeah, 111. And I had it, 11 to 1, 12-0, 10 to 2, I guess. But, I wouldn't really subscribe to that. But whatever. Doesn't really matter at that point. By the end of the fight, you could see Callum Smith his nose was pretty bent up. He was bleeding. And then you also did notice that arm, too, that Canelo messed up pretty good. Canelo landed 209 to 97, 484 to 536, 43% overall to 18. So, it was very, 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 very dominant. Real dominant, obviously. So, I understand he's the lineal champion now. I understand to an extent anyway why George Groves at the time when people had faded or weren't in the division anymore or retired, like Frotch beat him twice. First time was well worth a rematch. Obviously, we saw what happened in the rematch. Badu Jack beat him. So, I can understand, like, going in the World Boxing Super Series, how at the end of it they felt like they had number one and number two, and rankings exist, and that's just what happens. You know what I mean? Now, he got his belt from, shooting off Groves, I'm speaking of. Groves, he had that shoulder injury in the semifinal and never really, he looked faded, and he just didn't look healthy. Excuse me. Try to take a little sip of water on the low, and bam, went down the wrong pipe. Anyway, it is what it is, though. So I understand, like, the World Boxing Super Series, the tournament and all that. I get that. I mean, Billy Joe Saunders wasn't up there. Canelo wasn't up there yet. Hadn't won a belt yet, or, hadn't had a lot of big wins or anything like that. So, not that they have a bunch of big wins either. I mean, whatever. So I get it. So we could call, I would have been okay with calling Canelo based off his resume and based how he looked body-wise at 168 and to an extent at 175. I would be okay with putting him number one at the time. But, you got to rank something. You got to have rankings. So he is the lineal champ, and right now that we've seen him against a top five, regardless of what you say, you would have had to put Callum Smith in your top five. But sometimes that's the way lineals go. It may not be a perfect system, but if you're keeping a system, you do go by the numbers, whatever's clever. You know what I mean? So Canelo is number one now. He is the lineal 168 technically. But who's next? Who is next? There was some talk from him. I think Idick reported this from what I saw. Maybe Dan Raphael did as well. But he's talking about, remember the WBC was thrown into this thing a while back, basically when he was trying to get out of his contract, and with the lawsuit, he put his name in the hat for the WBC belt once David Benavidez dropped. Well, he didn't drop it; he got it stripped for missing weight. So that was more of a, hey, I'm getting opportunity taken away from me. That's a breach of contract that's going on right now. So I can prove to you by putting my name in this hat that I have other options, and they're holding me back. Golden Boy, really. It's his own too, but especially Golden Boy, because as we know, as we found out, that's the paperwork. That's who he had, Golden Boy. So, WBC, if Canelo says, hey, man, put me in your, put me in the not the rankings, but just in general, I want that belt, they're going to do it. And so is every other organization, by the way, But to me, that was just, why not? Okay, now, clearly, because, it made sense. You could prove that you have coming in and you're being screwed. And so we know he's a free agent, yada, yada, yada. But he did talk about Yildirim for that WBC, because part of the agreement was they could fight, but the winner has to fight within 90 days. They have to fight Yildirim. And now I could see this playing out two ways. One, Canelo just drops the belt because he's the franchise champ anyway at 160 or at the WBC, which is open to all. Once you're the franchise, it means franchise at 60, 68, 75, and so on, right? So I could see him just dropping the WBC and fighting somebody in May. Now, the fact that he wasn't able to get 2 fights in, right, maybe he will be like, well, I can do that. I can definitely do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to fight in February and then fight in May, Cinco de Mayo weekend. So he could get an extra paycheck in Mexico. He did talk about how he wants to do that at some point. Maybe he's going to do it, February. Maybe he'll fight in Mexico way down the line later in his career. I don't know. But that is an option. And if you do the math, it does actually kind of line up with it being doable if you think about it. He could take this week off, next week off. That's 2 weeks, and then have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks of camp. If you went, let's say, the 27th of February, then you take another 2 weeks off, put you in mid-March. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he could, like I said, 2-week break, get right back on it, beat Yildirim, which I don't think anybody really thinks he'll have a big problem with him. I mean, Yildirim is not a bum by any stretch of imagination. I did actually think he had a little edge on Darrell, and that's the whole thing of this whole why he's even in the belt system right now. But anyway, so he could do that. Sorry about coughing. I tried to mute it. He could do that. He could definitely do that. And I wouldn't be mad at him. I mean, if they sell it on pay-per-view, I'm not going to buy it. Because that's the pay-per-views that I don't buy. Where it's just like, nah, I'm good. But if he did it, somehow he got it on ESPN or ESPN Plus or Showtime or Fox or whatever, right? He could probably do it. Or DAZN. I mean, DAZN might be doing that and just pay him a minor amount. Who knows? Maybe that is the scenario. Or like I said, or he'll just drop it. I can see those two scenarios. But to fight 3 times, fight in February, fight in May, and then there'd be plenty of time to have even more of a break than you'd be getting, in these last 2 outings, what they would be anyway, if he fought in February. Then you'd have, you could have a full month off at that point, and even more. So, 2 months probably. So he could do that. You never know. And, I wouldn't be that mad. If we know it's going to be a legit fight in May and he's just staying busy and doing this, who cares? Like, I know he's going to get a lot of shit for it, but, we talk about wanting people to fight more. It was okay when Golovkin was fighting some people. We didn't necessarily think he could have a chance in the world, just to stay busy. And like I said, he lost some money last year. And he even lost money on this fight, obviously, because, you could only put so much people in the building. So anyway, that could be it. But who is it? Is it Golovkin? Is it Caleb Plant? Is it Charlo? Is it Billy Joe Saunders? Any of those names right there, those 4 names, I would be happy about. I'd be happy. That's fine. No problem. Like the Golovkin fight, the way it gets spoke of now, I think I said this last week, like, thank God boxing Twitter wasn't around when Jake LaMotta and Sugar Ray Robinson fought 6 times. Like, these 2 fights in a main event of pay-per-views, as we know, main event pay-per-views are very hit or miss. Even if you like the matchup, it's very hit or miss. Some people thought Mikey Garcia had the skill to outbox Spence. They're very hit or miss. They can be, historically, especially the last, 10 years, 15 years. But my point, I bring that up because, dude, Canelo and Golovkin, both of the fights, I had it 1-1. Whatever you had it, that's your thing, no problem. Unless it's like 8-4, 9-3 in the second fight for Golovkin. But those are 2 good-ass fights, and I know Golovkin's not on – it doesn't appear that he's on that same level. But people were saying that going into the second fight, and he fought damn well, and look how he closed that fight. Look how he closed that fight. Maybe he steps up his competition when the competition goes up. Now, and, he took a long-ass break, so that plays into it too. But either way, to sit there and dump all over this fight like it's just a garbage fight. And by the way, it would happen on DAZN. So if you have DAZN, it's just part of the subscription, dude. If you already paid your hundo and you're paying $833 a month, it's on DAZN, dude. who cares? Like, it's just so funny. Best fighting the best, and then the best fight the best 2 times in their damn good fights. Damn good fight. The second fight was excellent. I mean, with that much skill and that high level, it's tough to get really, really exciting fights with that skill level on the top level. Because usually someone's skill level is just too high, or their style is too, dominant for them, or they're on the move too much, or they're coming forward and missing shots, or whatever, right? So I understand being over it to an extent because, a lot of the talk, But if you're over it, why are you so mad at Canelo then? Some people. Like, oh, he should have taken it last year. Okay, but I don't know. It is what it is. If Golovkin's over the hill, then it doesn't matter when he's going to fight him. I mean, relatively speaking, of course. So my point is, if it's $50 or $60 million on the table, which it would more than likely be, because that's how much he made the first go-rounds, and for DAZN, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, you've never gotten a fight that got you over 1 million subs. That gets you over 1 million subs. Easy. All day long. Anybody that doesn't think that, you're just not thinking correctly, dude. You're not, when you pay whatever it was, $75, $80, I give 75 for the first, 80 for the second, something like that. I mean, those both did over 1 million. So it makes sense for DAZN. It's still a good-ass fight, dude. It's still a good-ass fight. Now, God forbid Golovkin would have to go to 168. By the way, he looked great body-wise. And when older fighters look great body-wise and they talk about catching a body, that generally draws a lot more criticism. But it is what it is. I'm just saying that. Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant has a fight coming up in January 30th on Fox. Him and Caleb Truex, who they've been trying to make that mandatory fight for a while. And that's the thing about the IBF, dude. They stay busy with those IBF Mandos, man. They don't mess around. That was a Mando, it sounds like. So, and we all knew that the fight, they were trying to make this fight either with him or Quillen, and then Quillen lost. So, Caleb, obviously I understand people are not pumped about that fight. They want to see the Benavidez fight. But if you look at the resume so far of Caleb Plant, you can't look at Caleb Truex and be like, oh, that's a shit fight. I disagree. I'm biased, obviously, because of the Minnesota connection, but he's a solid bet. Yeah, he's faded, no doubt, and a lot of it has to do with injury, So he did win the belt from DeGale, and so that kept him high in the rankings, obviously, and, whatever. My point is, Caleb could fight in January, so now he's not going to be out a year plus, right? Because remember, he fought in February. Well, if he were to wait till May, that'd be a long-ass time. So I could see that Caleb Plant fight. They were already in talks, and it sounds like they wanted to go maybe back to those talks potentially and look at that. I could see that happening in May. Golovkin, money-wise, I could see it happening. It's so much damn money. But maybe if he fought Yildirim and Plant, he feels like, well, that's still pretty damn good money. I don't know. It matters how much Yildirim somebody overpays for that fight. It really kind of matters. But or Charlo. Charlo could come up to 168. Canelo said the only one I would go to 64 now is Spence. That's what I was thinking. And then Billy Joe Saunders. A lot of people think Golovkin. I just don't think Benavidez because he doesn't have a belt right now. I'll say this. If Canelo doesn't fight Yildirim, then I think, and we're going to find out here soon, somewhat, relatively speaking, Yildirim and Benavidez will fight for the belt is my thought process because they did put him at number one, Benavidez now. So Billy Joe Saunders, stylistically, Caleb out of this mix here, Plant and Billy Joe Saunders clearly on the outside, clearly have their own depth, clearly have some good hand speed, clearly have good footwork and defense. Totally different style. Golovkin, we know, is a good fight because we've seen it a bunch. Charlo, has a little bit of a reach. Most people do on Canelo. But that would be a good fight too. I'd really like that, and I think the build-up would be great in that fight because Charlo is a good dancing partner in that sense. Not to say that Billy Joe Saunders and Plant, don't, aren't good dancing partners because, out of all of them, Billy Joe Saunders can talk the shit the most, right? But he's not as popular over here just yet. Not to say Plant is like a superstar by any stretch, and Charlo isn't either, but they are more named. They've been on Fox and such. So I'd be happy with any of those. I do kind of have a hunch that it's either going to be Golovkin or Plant. And I'm talking about May 2021. I'm not talking about that possible February fight. Frank Sanchez got a knockout. I don't really know. I can't remember who the hell I just saw the highlight before I even watched the fight. Boom, I saw it. So he got the Cuban prospect heavyweight. He got a knockout. So we'll kind of keep an eye on him. Brandon Lee actually got a knockout on the undercard of the Showbox. We'll talk about that Showbox card a little later with that. Basically the robbery of the year. I'd say that's fairly easy to say. Golovkin, he looked okay. He looked pretty good. He looked great on his body. That's for sure. It kind of looked like he was the biggest, and his body may have looked the best it's looked on a scale against Shirameta. Is it Shirameta? I think it's Shirameta. Who, we knew this was going to be a slaughter, and that's exactly what it was. Golovkin came out with jabs and nice left hook, uppercuts, a late left hook. Was that a knockdown right away, or was that the second round of the knockdown? I think it was a late left hook that was a knockdown. Second round, Golovkin had this looping right hand that landed really, really hard. And then another right hand that landed, I think, on the ear, which is a perfect shot that way anyway. 35 seconds left in the second round, knockdown. So he had he was just landing better. A knockdown in the fourth, a left hook with 60 seconds, 70 seconds left of the round. Good body shot late as well. Golovkin, dude didn't win a round. It started to slow down a little bit in the sixth or something like that, but he picked it right up. It was a double jab that knocked him out, TKO. So Golovkin got the win pretty cleanly, like I said. Just outlanded them. 228 to 59. Is that right? Oh my gosh, it's 7 rounds. That's a dominant performance. Is that correct? God, I didn't think that. So yeah, people are talking about Golovkin Munguia, which funny. A few years back, I should say. The commission, was it California? I think it was California Athletic Commission. Wouldn't allow the fight. Munguia's up at 160 now, and I want to say he's highly ranked in a couple of these sanctioning belts. I think he's pretty high. I think he's number 1 against for the WBC. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But there's been talks about Golovkin Munguia a little bit lately, and of course, Golden Boy Promotions Eric Gomez came out and said, That's the fight, man. That's got what do you say? That's got Cinco de Mayo written all over it. That type of thing. So, it is what it is. I'm not going to look too deep into that, but it is what it is. And I will talk a little bit about the tricep injury or whatever. I'm just going to kind of clear up the weekend really quick. Okay. I'll just do that real quick since we're not too far off. But Callion Smith, this is from the Sun. Callion Smith accused Canelo of deliberately going after the tricep injury, which, he hit you on the arm, dude. And his arm was messed up. There's no doubt about that. But, he basically said, let's see, quoted, from Boxing Social. It was intentional. I knew it from the first round that it was intentional. I said in round 1, he's aiming for my arm. Every right hook he was throwing, he was going for my arm. And then I said in round 4 or something, my arm is fucked, basically. It kind of took away my catch left hook, which is my best shot. And whether that was a plan on their behalf, it worked a treat because he was throwing. I remember Groves threw a couple hooks against me, and I thought, well, you're throwing the right hook. The next one, you're getting it. So he says basically, And the next one I countered, if you had told me that Canelo was going to throw that many right hooks at me, I probably would have thought I would have caught him with a catch hook counter. So he's basically like the thing I caught, Groves with, I would have, there's a good shot I would have caught Canelo with, but my arm was hurt. Some people asked me afterwards because they thought my hand was hurt, and that's why he was throwing so many right hooks. And he said he could use the jab still, but he just couldn't put all of his left hook into it. But, that's part of fighting, dude. You know what I mean? Like, to be like, oh, he was targeting my arm. It's like, well, stop covering up your body then. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And I do have a Demetrius Andrade segment once we clean this up too. But because he was talking about resume and stuff like that. Who's Canelo fighting? Oh, really? Oh, okay, Mr. Andrade. Who was Canelo fighting? That's what you're going to ask? Okay, sure. On that undercard, though, Akhmedov, I think it was Akhmedov. Akhmedov and Gongora, Carlos Gongora. Akhmedov had a sizable lead in that fight I had. I'm looking at my scorecard right now. I had it the first 3, although the third was very, close. I gave him the first 3. He was the aggressor. It's not that Gongora wasn't landing nice shots, nice straight left hands and whatnot, kind of on the stick and move as well. The 4th round I gave, it was a back and forth, but the better shots down the stretch, I thought Gongora got that. 5th round and the 7th round I gave to Akhmedov, but the 6th round was super close, dude. Super close. Hooks to the body off the jab. That could have went either way. There was a lot of, this counter uppercut was money from Akhmedov. That was the 7th round. Really good action, though. Good back and forth fight. I liked the fight itself. But then I thought by the 8th round, the Ecuadorian Gongora started taking over. Give and take early in the 8th. And you could really see Gongora starting to push him back, landing flush left hook, straight left hands, pushing the pace even more in the 9th. But good head movement on the way in. I want to say that as well. He had him on the ropes, just landed the better shots. 10th round I gave to him, hard left hands. Now, the 11th round, actually, Akhmedov came back. Both guys were laying leather in this one, but he probably did the better work. It was a good start for him, too, in the 12th, but then a left uppercut dropped him, and then more uppercuts, another left, knocked him out. It was done. Stand up Ecuador. I actually work with a fair amount of Ecuadorians over the last, say, 10 to 15 years, so I've gotten to know a fair amount of Ecuadorians, and I actually got a text message from them, because they're not huge boxing fans, A lot of Americans probably just think like anyone south is, oh yeah, they're Mexicans, right? That's what a lot of people. It's pretty ignorant. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? They're Ecuadorian, dude. Like, it's there's other countries, right? Well, it's just South America. No, there's individual countries, buddy, but Ecuadorians, man, they got to be happy on this one. Like I said, I got 2 text messages when this happened. So that was pretty dope. Great win by Gongora. And it was fun. It was a fun fight. I enjoyed it a whole lot. What else we got here? Oh, on the Showtime card, Gary Antonio Russell took on Carlos Payano, and this was a really good prospect trying to become a contender fight. 17-0 12 KOs with Gary Antonio. This is a good fight. Payano, I gave him the first round, maybe the second, maybe that was Russell's. I don't know. But they started landing in exchanges, and I thought the straight left hand was maybe the best shot in that first round. But you could see pretty early that it was going to be a rough fight, and even in that second round. You know, during the clinch, Payano was trying to use a lot of veteran moves there. Maybe Russell won the second round. It was close, dude. It was close. Then Russell, I gave the third round for sure. I thought, you know, he started kind of getting the rough stuff back, but he was landed to the body, landed a little bit more clear, kind of stick and move, and then kind of do some stuff in the clinch. The fourth round, another close one. I gave it to Russell, but it was close. Late combinations by Payano, but the jab mostly dominating that round. The fifth round, jab and hooks, a couple nice uppercuts as well. Payano closed well in that round. And then Gary Russell kind of brought up the pressure with some nice hooks. Payano had a really, really bad cut. And they were talking about you could see the nerves and stuff like that. So they had to stop the fight. 58-56, 2 scorecards, and then 59-55. So it was a competitive fight. I had it like 4-2. Maybe 4-1-1. I don't know about 5-1, whatever. But I had it 4-2. I really wish this fight could have went on Showtime more. I mean, I thought it was going to be. I mean, it was a great test for him. It only went 6 rounds, you know. So, I mean, I'd like to see a rematch. I don't know if they'll do that, but I would like to see it because I thought both guys were game in this fight, and it was going to get. Like I said, it was smothery, it was ugly, it was rough, it's kind of all purpose, but dudes were landing some good shots. Then we got Boots Ennis, who came out firing away like he does against Van Heerden. He was doing his little duck under landing the left hands, landing combinations, left to the body, super pink body of Van Heerden, excuse me. There was a clash of heads though, and it was a pretty nasty cut, so they had to stop. Sucks for Ennis. I did hear in a couple of places already on good old boxing Twitter. I didn't hear it on Twitter. That Ennis is going to be back in the ring in February, so that's good. You know, Van Heerden, you know, he came in late on COVID with Delorme. Or wait, not Delorme. Who the hell did he? I forgot who he was signed to fight somebody. Anyway, although that would be a good fight for him. You know, 1 round. I'm glad he got a camp and got out. You know what I mean? That's good. And so we'll see. Hopefully, he just keeps getting a step up there. I saw some mentions of like Jose Cito Lopez, which I think would be a great fight for Boots. But Ennis, in the same breath, Jose Cito Lopez probably would want to fight Danny Garcia in his comeback fight, or something like that, just to get more money, because he's in that stage of his career where he's looked good in fights and he hurt Thurman and all that, but I doubt he wants to take on this young contender sizable amount less. You know what I mean? And you can't really fault him because he's been through the ringer, dude. The guy has been. I mean, he upset Ortiz. He went up in weight class, upset Victor Ortiz, then went up in weight class again because Ortiz was going to fight Canelo, and then took on Canelo. I mean, that Maidana fight was fun. It is what it is. I wouldn't be mad at the fight. I'd be like, hey, that's a great fight for Ennis. But I just don't know if we can just say, come on, Jose Cito, go take Ennis when you may have a bigger money fight chilling. You know what I mean? Which it'd be hard too. Now in the main event, Rodriguez and Gaballo. My goodness gracious, this was a robbery. This is a full-on robbery. This is one of those sometimes I get shtick for saying that the majority of boxing fans and media members, anyone I know that's a boxing fan, out of all the years I've watched it, and it dates back to the 80s, you can always see the theme of the come forward fighter gets a lot of the close rounds, unless you are such an elite outside guy and you're popular. Because remember, Lara was pretty damn good on the outside against Paul Williams, wasn't he? Still couldn't get it. And I'm not saying that worked out every time. Algieri and Provodnikov. A lot of people thought, dude, they're probably going to give it to Provodnikov. Whatever. But the majority, and remember, when I say majority, I don't mean 99.9%. Think about owning a company. You only have to be a little over 50%, right? So that's what I mean. The majority of fans will say stuff like, the guy made the fight. The come forward, without him, the come forward fighter, there wouldn't be a fight, which is just ridiculous. I said this on Lukey. Shouts out to Lukey last week for having me on the pod. Said this on his pod too. It's like, the fight was made. When you say there'd be no fight, the fight was made when you signed the contracts. You got a 20-by-20 or 18-by-18 sometimes, 16-by-16, right? But most of the time it's 20-20. And it's just ridiculous. That's my whole point. It's a little rant because it's supposed to be effective, not just pressure. It's not just winging shots. And that's not to say, like, Gaballo got whitewashed, but how many rounds could you give him? I mean, the second round was a slow round. That was close. Could you really favor it way over, though, than to Rodriguez? Both of them I thought had like a snappy jab. Gaballo was kind of in and out most of the time. The counter jab, a few nice uppercuts early in the fight, kind of stab jab circling was Rodriguez. He was kind of showing all his skills. He staggered him, stumbled him on the ropes with the counter right hand, the step back, the pivots. He had his thing going, Rodriguez did. And maybe in the first 6 rounds, you could give 1 round to Gaballo. Okay, that's cool. 5th round was close too. I think some people gave him the 4th out of the first 6, whatever. It did kind of slow down in the middle. I did finally give a full, competent round because of jumping jabs, and I mean it, jumping jabs, not jacks, and a few right hands from Gaballo in the 8th round. I gave him the 12th round as well. But the jab, the whole fight was keeping him at bay. And even in the 10th round, it staggered him again or stumbled him, whatever. So it was a clear win, dude. It was a clear win. The best shots were Rodriguez. The punch stats were close enough, 109 to 93. And, of course, Gaballo threw 520 to 372. But I don't know. You could say, for a 12-round fight, clearly 372 is not throwing a bunch. So I understand that, but I don't get it, dude. 116, 112, 8-4. This mother effer had an 8-4 for Gaballo. Other ref, I think it was a male ref or judge, 115 to 113. Where are 7 rounds for Gaballo? And then 118, 110, which is a lot more closer. I had it 10-2, but max 9-3. And if you want to go super max like the NBA, 8-4, man, I am bending over backwards, pause. I really hope Rodriguez gets another shot because that was on some bullshit. It just was. Man, I'm getting some more text messages. All right, there's time in the show, guys. Everybody calm down. We're going to get there. We're going to get there, okay? I'm going to get at them. I'm going to get at everybody. I'm just kidding. Oh, this is good stuff, man. People Oh, I got some entrances here for boxing Twitter as well. Okay, let's move to all the way back to Wednesday and I'm going to cover Thursday's Ring USA because somebody in my messages were pissed. See, the funny thing is, I've been doing this pod for a while. Used to have a bunch of co-hosts, and now, for some time it hasn't been. But my point is, pretty much the same call-in number. I think we've had the same call-in number the whole time. So it's kind of funny because there's people that I don't know who it is. I know the area code. Some people private text me. So I know some people that text me during the show, and some people I don't. Some people to be honest, I deleted out of my phone, so I don't know who it is, But I may have texted them according to the show or something, or they may have been cool for a year, and then because I said something about their favorite fighter or something, they flipped out on me, that type of thing. So I did get a question the other day, like, who is texting you this stuff? It's a combination of people I know, people I have no clue who it is, but must have texted at some point, or they got it some other way, obviously, or just straight up people I deleted, so I just don't know. I don't have the area code barely even memorized. So that's the live tweets. That's what it comes down to. Just a heads up. So yeah, it's so we're gonna get to there. We're gonna get it. That's next. Okay, this is FS1. Jose Perez against Jose Garcia, right? Eduardo, I think Garcia. And Perez handled his business. There was some back and forth in this fight. Garcia did land some good hooks when they exchanged and whatnot. Good back and forth. I gave Garcia the first two, and obviously the fourth, the fight was over. So I had a 2-1 going in the fourth. Perez lands a left hook followed by a right hand that landed super clear as a knockdown, which turned in basically to a TKO. So Jose Perez looked pretty good in that fight, I thought. 9-1-1 now, so clearly prospect-driven. Just like Fernando Molina, who is age 18, now 4-0. He had good movement, the jab, the counters, the jab, the pivot, in and out, then a left hook or a lead left hook, step back, jab, counter, left. I mean, he was kind of doing a little bit of everything. Sometimes he'd in and out in pot shot. He was showing good defense. Sometimes it was just like a little stab jab or even a little warning jab. Then boom, he'd follow up with a harder shot. So I thought the youngster there, now 4-0, age 18, Fernando Molina, looked pretty damn good in that. Then we had Stan Jonas against Javier Gonzalez. And Stan Jonas was pretty solid, right? Wasn't this supposed to be the Lord? I think that's what it was. And he fought not long ago, keeping him nice and busy, against Deloach, and he had a good performance in that. So, I thought he looked pretty good, Stan Jonas. The first round was competitive. Second round, body shots by both guys landed really good. A left hand to the body was the knockdown. He looked pretty hurt. Gonzalez did. He got up, though, and more lands to the bodies, of course. Jab kind of hooks to the head and body. Stanionis was just, dominant pretty much every round. Outworking him, using a steady jab. There were some few exchanges, but really overhand rights and left hooks for Gonzalez, but really there wasn't much there. Late in the round, 2 right hands and a stamping left uppercut made Gonzalez take a knee in the 9th. 45 seconds, a hard right hand TKO. Stanionis wins the fight clearly over Gonzalez. Javier Gonzalez, I last saw him in the Armory in Minneapolis. 207-100, he was dominant, 40%, 22. It was a wrap. So a good performance by Stanionis. What is he, 12-0 now? 13-0, something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how they move them. They've been moving them quite steady, I thought. Very steady. And now, since I got some pushback, I guess a couple of weeks ago, I didn't cover their card, so I apologize. Ring City USA, NBC Sports Network, and one of the people that, got this message to me said that NBC Sports Network, basing it off what the PBC did on there, and also I think Main Event, they used those ratings to tell me that Ring City is better than Showbox already, and as if Showbox hasn't done anything over the years, right? And then you could put FS1 and NBC Sports Network ratings together, and it'll be what Ring City is. And I hope that's the case. As far as any good quality boxing that's fairly consistent, I'm down for. The first fight, Torres and Mrnjanovic. It was a back and forth fight. I had Mrnjanovic winning 6-4, 96-94, 98-92, 97-93 were the judges. She had a good jab. Torres brought a lot of pressure, though. In the second round, she was pressuring pretty heavy, back and forth most of the rounds. It was fun. It was sloppy overall. I got to admit, neither of these fighters were that fast. So I think when it's sloppy and they're not fast, sometimes that kind of But I'll tell you what, the other half of the rounds were fun, good action. But I think the better overall shots enough to get it was Mrnjanovic. But, good fight, 6-4, I had her win. And then Eduardo Baez against Abgarvon, something like that. We'll just call him AB. How's that? Baez won this fight very cleanly. Started establishing his jab pretty early. His left hook and his straight right hand as well. AB was kind of on his hooks and movement throughout a lot of the fight, but the left hook to the body and the short uppercut on the inside by Baez in the third round gave him that round. AB did win the fourth. He did start to trap him a little bit on the ropes, Baez, but he fired back. It was actually a two-way on the inside type fight. Baez got cut. He got this nasty cut. It felt like it was on the top of his head, but then the back of his head was bleeding really too. So maybe he was, or like on the top of the forehead, maybe he was actually more on the top of his head. I don't know how he got the cut, but it was bleeding. It looked like he was bleeding a little bit down his head and then on his back, down his neck, I should say. So I don't really know what happened there, but beyond the fourth round, I'm looking at my scorecard now, and some of the stuff he was able to do, AB stole the round maybe in that last part in the fourth, but pretty much body punches, landing the better shots, hard right hands, active, like I said, overhand rights, left to the body. I mean, Baez won the fight. Clear as day. He won the fight. And he looked pretty good doing it. It's the second time I think I've seen him fight a full fight. He moves to 8-1-2, something like that. Oh boy, was 14-0 AB. So a very good win for him, and I definitely want to see him back. Be interesting to see, if he comes back on Wednesday. We have 90 seconds left. For those listening to it in the browser, 646-381-4990 is the number to call. You can listen to the last hour of the show on the archive mode. Once again, if you're listening to the browser, you have a minute and 14, 13, 12 seconds. 646-381-4990. Now, Charles Conwell, a prospect moving into contender range, took on Askiev. And on paper, this looked like, all right, dude, this is going to be a good test for him, Charles Conwell. Conwell has that tight guard. For the first round, it was basically mostly jabs, a couple of right hands to the body. Both of them landed elbows in this fight, by the way. Really nice, clean elbows. There was like some early work by Askiev with the jab, kind of quick combos. But uppercuts, digging to the body with combinations. He just closed better, did Conwell. Just better lands. I think the second elbow was in the fourth. Elbow landed. I think this one was from Conwell. So it was a rough and that other one I talked about. And Askiev, I think I gave him the fourth round. He landed the better shots, plus he got elbowed. Maybe I put that in there. Fight kind of tapered off a little bit in the fifth and sixth. Still clearly winning Conwell. Then he started kind of thumping him back to the body, landing really heavy body shots. And you could start to see Askiev start to hold a lot, and it was starting to hurt. Obviously. And the seventh and the eighth, he really started attacking that body. Head and body work in the ninth round, scored a TKO. Charles Conwell came out victorious for the Ring City USA NBC Sports Network. So you can't say I didn't cover it. Conwell, 54. Obviously, there's a lot of solid fighters there. It's not top heavy. You could say, the top four fighters aren't as good as welterweight or lightweight or whatever, but so I wouldn't say it's top heavy like some divisions, but if you get to the 6th, the 8th, the 10th, it's a damn good deep division. So Conwell, I noticed, man, he's got that tight guard, but sometimes when he starts to overextend he kind of steps in with his right hand, he does leave himself a little open there. And I wouldn't call him stiff, but I don't know. He's kind of got broad shoulders, or like kind of big shoulders, if that makes sense. And so it's not robotic, but because he seems like a fairly fluid puncher, but we just got to kind of keep an eye on him to see, how he advances, basically. But like I said, they probably won't, hold back too much, because he's, like I said, he's moving in contender range. He's 14-0 now with 11 KOs. Not even long ago. What was that, October or September against Toussaint at the Toussaint? Obviously, R.I.P. Patrick Day. Other than that, though, we still got to see him a little bit more. Just because, he's building up his resume. He's building up his fights and whatnot. So, but I do like what I see out of him. And like I said, the 50, besides Jermell Charlo, I think the 50, and obviously he can lose. I'm not saying that. I didn't think he lost to Harrison, but some people did, whatever. And obviously it goes down the book as a loss. But I think he's the best all-around fighter in the division. And clearly he's the lineal right now. But I don't know. I actually saw somebody, that doesn't surprise me. I saw somebody say that 154 is probably like one of the, if not the weakest divisions. And it's like, are you sure? Are you sure it's like, so it's weak? Now, he did say, there's some 54-pounders coming up, so it's going to get deeper now. So basically, a lot of these PBC guys are just like mediocre to not that good. Like I said, top heavy, if you look at the top four names, you can find more talented divisions and whatever, accomplish whatever you want to say. You definitely can. And sometimes it is talent. Like 135 has a lot of talent, but we still got to see it happen. We still got to see Ryan Garcia against Campbell. We still got to see Teofimo against other people too. So we got to figure out, not Teofimo necessarily, he just got Loma, but like we got to find out just how good Garcia and Haney are too. So, they're I understand the point of that, but to say it's one of the weakest in boxing, okay, let's look at 140. Let's look at the top 10 at 140. I mean, do you not think Taylor's beatable? Do you not think some people thought Ramirez already lost to Zapata? Some people thought he lost to Postal. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Charles Conwell, very good prospect. I'm looking forward to seeing him advance his career. That is for sure. Is that it? Is that all? I'm looking through my notes here. Is that all? Did I get everything? Did we get it all? So we had a dominant performance, to say the least, by the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Canelo Alvarez. I know in some circles that's sacrilegious to say. It is just horrible. How could you say that about Canelo? He doesn't love his fans, the boxing fans. He doesn't speak English. It's like, dude, you know how many fighters didn't speak English that are legends? I mean, who gives a shit? He's a little, he's timid about speaking English, dude. He doesn't like to do it. The rumor is he's not embarrassed, but he doesn't like to say stuff a little different or something. Who gives a shit, dude? He understands. Like, are you trying to make it like he's not intelligent or something? Like, I just actually got a couple messages pertaining to this. That's why I'm ranting on it. But, like, I don't know. Like, if you're so worried about him being a bigger star because he doesn't speak English, first of all, he understands English. Did you see the press conference? And man, did he like him? He can answer the question without getting it interpreted to him. So, and not only that, but you're talking about he'd be so much bigger of a star if he spoke English. Okay, that's a fair argument, but if you're so worried about him being a star, then you shouldn't want him on DAZN then, because his audience shrinks when he goes there. It's not as much of a mainstream platform as, say, ESPN or a Fox, or even what Showtime can do in some senses with, especially CBS or whatever. But it's like, which is silly too, because I don't care where fighters fight. I just want to see them fight in good fights, right? But I don't know. It's like the hate for Canelo. I mean, we get it, dude. 175, he didn't fight the best guy up there. But who gives a fuck? Like, okay, cool. He's got time to fight better Beav. Beav has, like, one really good guy on his record. And that's it, too. And that one really good guy, being on the back foot, on the move, that wasn't necessarily his game. Whatever. It is what it is. So you only want to see better Beav. Some folks, I'm getting these messages. I only want to see better Beav. That's it. Fuck every fight. I'm so glad that boxing Twitter didn't exist 90s, 80s, 60s, 50s, 30s, when these dudes are fighting 10 times a year. Oh, another bum of the week. Oh, this fight sucks. I'm not watching for 7 months until he fights so-and-so. Like, it's just, oh, boy. It is funny. Now, Canelo, I understand that. Now, what he popped for, if you're going to, the same people that talk about Povetkin and how, that shouldn't have been that, minor traces and all that. Okay, cool. But so can we break down what Canelo got popped for, though? So I'm just saying, like, the NFL tells teams when they do a fight in Mexico City, when they do a game, an NFL game in Mexico City, they get warned not to eat the meat because of what's in it. They get warned you. Now, that's his fault. But to sit there and say he's been cheating the whole time is like, I mean, and I am that, but until there's year-round testing, sorry. I mean, in that case, then we better take away the 80s and 90s then. Because there wasn't any, I mean, rarely. I do think Tyson made Holyfield do some test like that. But, I mean, the blood tests weren't there. The blood test, if it was there, it was to see cocaine, marijuana, war on drugs in the 80s, So anyway, but Andre, oh yeah, we're not going to forget about Andre. Andre has the balls, and skill-wise, Andre, he looks the part. he hasn't had like a really quality win since probably 2016. Willie Nelson, who had just beat Harrison, that was a damn good win, I thought. The Van Ness Martirosyan at that time was a good win. Sulecki it's a pretty good win, I think he's a pretty good fighter. But his best win is probably Van Ness or Willie Nelson, in my opinion. But, I'm not going to go into some kind of huge rant about Andre because I've done it. But this is what him and Mannix, and it's so funny because this is what happens when a media member like bends over backward to a fighter on the same platform that the broadcaster's on, or the media member, however you want to describe the job there, and then he gets thrown right in the face. I mean, he's covered for Andre so many times and just tried to make the Charlo fight. That's it, basically. But yet and Charlo's ducking. He's the only one ducking, but yet he's had a lot of ducks. But anyway, this is what he's talking about when he's talking about Canelo's resume. Demetrius Andrade, Mannix, and Andre turned on him. And Mannix is like, what? I'm going to spaz out on you.
Okay, respectfully, yes. I'd like to see him fight you, no question. But he is unquestionably the number one pound-for-pound guy in boxing right now. He has the best resume of anybody in boxing right now. They did a great job with him.
They did a great job with him.
Go on, boy. Promotion. Are you kidding me? They did a great job with moving Canelo. Yes. Only in implies, Demetrius, that you're just being given a fight. Eric Loss was not a gimme fight. Twice was not a gimme. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, but he has had a lot of gimme fights too, though.
He's had a lot of gimme fights.
Of course, trying to fight somebody sooner or later, and he fights his guy at the right.
At some point, you got to sooner or later, which is what we could be saying about what you should be saying.
He's fighting.
What is Laura? The guy you didn't fight and had a chance to. That's who Arislani Lara is about 5 years ago.
That point was arguably the best guy one could before. Right to top. He's on promotional stuff. He's taking all the point movement. None of those guys wants to fight Arislani Lara. He said, well, it's nothing to do with that. He moves up. Yes, then he shares the belt at 175, fighting past his prime Sergey Kovalev. Golovkin was a monster at that time. Wait, he beat them. All credit to Canelo for fighting Triple G. I'm not saying that, none of that. Like I just said, you have to fight somebody eventually. He did that. And yes, he is a pound guy.
Eventually, even though he fought Trout, solid fighter, especially back then. Arislani Lara, Mayweather, Cotto, still solid. Not his peak, but solid enough.
But there's other guys out there, too, that have great talent. That kid, and that's not going to sit there and just, like, go on the books all night.
What Demetrius is saying, it's so close to the top. The guys that we're talking about who are in the mix of massive matches, it's interchangeable, fight for fight basis.
Do you think so? Like, I don't think it's interchangeable at all. Lomachenko lost. He was the guy that I thought, he was interchangeable with. All respect to Terence Crawford. He doesn't have anyone close to the resume that Canelo Alvarez has. This guy is the best.
Then he starts to bring up, like, Sugar Shane Mosley. It's like, dog, he was like 21 or something. Like, and like I said, for Andre to be saying this, Mr. I'm going to re-sign with the person that screwed me. Mr. I'm going to take money when I have other offers, like the Rock Nation, like the DAZN. And I'm not ripping him to take the money fight, or the money, I should say. But it was so funny after stooping for him for so long, Mannix of Andre, it is so funny to blow up in his face. And Andre, the guy acts like everybody's ducked him his whole career. I mean, he had a chance at the Charlo brother, Jermall, and it's so funny because it blew up in his face again. I played some of the audio. I think it is anyway. But on his show, when they're talking about it, on Mannix's show, Andre said, well, actually, I did get an offer to fight Charlo on Showtime. And at that time, it was career high money. Now, he got offered a fight in a one-off, and he got offered a multiple fight deal. Now, the multiple fight deal did seem like DAZN paid better no matter who you were fighting. And he even said that. He said, who else was, I had to take this, which is cool. That's fine. But don't go taking that offer from DAZN and then turn around and be like, he doesn't want to fight me. You could have taken your career high one-off and went with DAZN and got more money. He even said that's how if we fight each other, that's how we get more money. He just recently said that. So did I think Charlo, if those offers were real, should have went to DAZN for a one-off? Sure, yes, I said that. But we can't just one-side it. Anyway, Andre talking about that stuff really cracks me up, dude. I mean, really cracks me up. So Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez is back March 13th on DAZN against Juan Francisco Estrada. It's the rematch that was supposed to happen a couple of times over the years. Funny how we didn't. Oh, it was a fun. People were fighting each other in like a round robin thing. So it was okay not to have this rematch, right? It's okay to have that, not to have that rematch all these years by. It was okay for Chocolatito not to take on Estrada, which I never ripped him, by the way, for that. I mean, he did kind of overprice himself, but I understand. He wanted like $2 million for it at the time when he was making like $1 million. I get it, but it's just so funny how it turns out. But this fight, they're both not in their prime anymore, but that's what makes it good. Because it's not like one dude is like, oh, I'm still humming in my prime. I wouldn't call Estrada in his 100% prime right now. Personally, I wouldn't. It may be a little like, Marquez or some guys that fight a little bit more action-packed than they used to type thing, and so maybe that's part of him. He's getting hit more, so maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe it's not age as much as I think. But Estrada is one of my favorite fighters of this generation, and same with Chocolatito. March 13th, and I knew based off this pay-per-view thing, where you pay $70, you get 4 months, I knew they were going to announce a big fight. But from the sounds of it, it was going to be Rungvisai and Estrada. But cooler heads prevailed, or maybe they gave Rungvisai some step-aside money. Or maybe he got, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But it really felt like the way the WBC talked about that, we'd have to wait till later in the year. So March 13th, Chocolatito, Estrada, dude. I am so jacked for that fight. I cannot wait for that fight. Okay, so what else we got? Showtime actually did release some of their schedule. They have a show box which looks like it's got some interesting fights on it. Definitely, obviously, prospect-driven type fights. It's Showbox, right? And but Angelo Leo against Stephen Fulton, the fight that got knocked off in August because of Fulton testing positive for COVID. Then it got knocked off of two separate things because they were still wondering where they're going to put it in December because Leo came in contact with Donaire and he got COVID. So now, January 23rd, the fight is happening. Let's hope, knock on wood. Angelo Leo, Stephen Fulton. I really, really like this fight. The first, Showtime fight of the year for the championship level anyway. So 20-0, 18-0, sign me up. I cannot wait for the fight. I was pumped when it was the original, announcement. But I also really, 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 can I say that? I really like the co-feature. We saw Racine Alim. He actually came off a fight where it was a replacement because his opponent went up and fought Leo, remember? So he fought a guy, Marcus Bates, who he had already beat, so it was like a rematch fight. But he's fighting 16-0 and 17-0 is this fight. Vic Pasias. I mean, dude, and Vic looks so good on FS1 not long ago. My God, I can't wait for this fight. This is a great fight right here. I really like this fight. I'm not trying to pump it up to like Chocolatito and Estrada level, but I happen to really like Vic is like, oh shit, he's ready to go now. And then Aleem looked good in his last outing. So to me, that's a great, great fight. I like that fight. I love that card. Triple header, Rolando Romero is fighting. He's going to open the card with Justin Aldo, who's 14-1. Doesn't really excite me, but to be fair, does sound like Rolly did try to, he tried to make the rematch fight with Morenez, who most people thought he won. And that would have been the other robbery, that would have been that's up there for robbery of the year. I think this last Showtime one, what they did to Rodriguez did it, though. Not to say Showtime did it. I'm saying, it happened. However, these judges, over and over it happens. So I really like that card. So, I mean, when you look at Ryan Garcia and Campbell, Luke Campbell, already on the books. Burchelt, Oscar Valdez is going to be on the, we got a great start so far. I can't wait, man. Those are good fights. No doubt about that. There is a card in a couple of days, Thursday from Moscow. Right now, we don't know. Of course, the Fox Deportes card, Fox Deportes card. I actually like James Kirk, the co-feature, James Kirkland against Juan Montiel. I like that fight a lot because Montiel is a pretty good fighter. He just went, not long ago, he went the distance. Was it a draw with Hugo Centeno, who's not a top 54-pounder. He's in that second tier, right? But if you're looking at Kirkland, he looked pretty good in his last outing. He's been making this comeback. I think he's been doing it the right way, stepping it up slowly but surely instead of just making one big fight and see how it works. And we've seen him take some time off and come back and, it didn't look good type thing. So the what ifs, we don't know exactly what Kirkland we're going to get. I think that's a good opponent. Also, Jesus Ramos, which is he the brother of Abel Ramos? I think he's taking on Naeem Nelson in a 10-rounder to open. Unfortunately, the main event got nixed because of COVID. Actually, it was going to be J-Rock against Dennis Hogan. J-Rock was coming back from that knockout, and he also, he had surgery on his eye or whatever, on the cut. I think it was the scar tissue. So Dennis Hogan, who clearly at 160, you could see that wasn't the weight for him at the time. But, he beat Munguia in my mind. I thought he beat Munguia. I thought he landed the better shots, and I thought he outboxed him. So at 54, he's in that, most people thought in the top 10, Munguia was in the bottom half of the top 10, whether it's 10th or 8th or wherever you want to put him. But, there was talk about Munguia against some of these 54-pounders. Dennis Hogan beat him. So I thought J-Rock, coming off a loss, trying to get back, I thought that was a good fight. But J-Rock got COVID, so they had to throw that off. And they were trying to think about maybe putting Fulton and Leo in the main event, but then, like I said, Leo got COVID. So that would have been a great main event on Fox. But, unfortunately, it didn't happen. I guess you could kind of put some of this on Andy Ruiz, too, because remember he was supposed to fight, November 6th or 7th or something like that, and he didn't make that. Well, this is 7 or 8 weeks later, but whatever. So my guy from Cuba via Minneapolis, David Morale Jr., takes on a guy to get some good rounds, a good vet, nothing too crazy. But, it's his fourth fight. I don't really look at he's a secondary champ. So I think it's a good fight for him there. It just sucks that it's the main event. And then Aoki against Tanaka. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I was thinking Ito in Mashiro. That's going to be from Tokyo on Saturday. So both those cards are on Saturday that I just mentioned. So, yeah. Let's get – actually, you know what? Let's go to Portland and see if he wants to get in to the action. Maybe he's just hanging out, maybe not. Anybody else right now that's on listening? 64638. What am I saying? You can press 1 and join in if you want. Tony Bellew, after the fight, basically saying, Canelo's still on PEDs. Unexplainable. Yes, I agree he's great and amazing at what he does, but it's unexplainable to be able to go through weight divisions like this and bully people. Take nothing away from his boxing ability because he's amazing, but come on, FS. He's going to end up legging heavyweights. So he's basically saying, what the hell's going on? I mean, if we're fair, though, Kenny Smith can't box off the back foot, dude. If you can't, box off the back foot, you weren't going to win in that scenario. So it's just so easy to say that. But whatever. Andre Ward, this is kind of a little Twitter segment while I'm waiting for a little response from 503. Ward said when Wilder made his catch a body comment, the boxing world was disgusted and jumped all over him. Golovkin recently made a similar comment. I don't see much backlash. That's a problem. Both were out of pocket and shouldn't have said what they said. We have to be consistent. Yes, like I said earlier, you got, I don't think they've ever really been over the top against Kovalev anyway, if we're being fair, considering what was alleged there. And, if you go even further, so Kovalev's being Kovalev, whatever, but Golovkin's talking about catching the body. I said this earlier. Loma's talking about bribed judges, and Usyk's talking about the glove issue with Chisora. But yet you barely hear a lot of people talk about this. Funny. And Demetrius Andre added that he fought a punching bag. Well, you fought plenty of punching bags in your day there, buddy. Yes, you have. Anyway, don't want to get too ridiculous here. Anytime you're about to tweak that tells you something. Don't want to get too ridiculous here, but I generally think Canelo could pull a Roy Jones and win a heavyweight title like the regular WBA or something or whatever. This comes from Coppinger Fight News. Eddie Hearn says Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua was verbally agreed to, and contracts are being drafted for the heavyweight championship fight in May or June. Hearn says only minor issues to resolve, such as who walks last, the site. The fight's going to happen next. If you're trying to figure out the site, well, I suppose maybe they just figured out the 50-50 split. And then whatever comes from the site, then it'd be 50-50. I don't know. This comes from Jake Donovan. He says, my opinion, #Jake's Takes, would have made more sense to have Andre have been, to be with the broadcast team in Florida, where he could have been pinched as a future GGG opponent. He's not at all in the hunt for Canelo fight anytime soon, and sounded bitter when talking about it. I agree. I totally agree with that. It's a good call, Jake. So yeah, somebody did want me to repeat the thing about Holyfield and Duva. Didn't I already repeat that? Anyway, when Duva, this is a tweet, when Duva controlled undisputed heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield, he agreed to give a title shot to Bo last November with the stipulation that if Bo won, so if Bo beats Holyfield, Duva would receive 28% of his future title earnings. So Bo, to get the shot, would have had to give away 28% to Duva. But you guys want to go back to that. Looks like, did they say Tyson Fury end? Tyson Fury's the fighter of the year, or is it Teofimo Lopez for Ring TV? This is him on Twitter. Overwhelming to become the first British fighter in history to win 2 Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year awards, 2015, 2020. Really honored. This is the Holy Grail Boxing. Now I'm 2-time ring champion and 2-time fighter of the year. And I'll be doing my fighter of the year. There is other stuff. I guess Okay, cool. All right, let's go out to Portland, and then we'll get back to some fight news, and we'll get back to some double standards, and we'll get back to some Twitter stuff. Portland 503, what's going on, man? How the hell you doing, buddy?
Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero apretad y el rigor, y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón.
What up, Chris? I'm doing good. You know, over the weekend we got a great fight. But how you doing, Chris? How's everything, brother?
I'm doing really good, man. Thanks. Canelo looked damn sharp, didn't he?
Oh, man, it's another level, man. I don't know what to say. That was just a brilliant fight. I don't know. He made the Giant look all scared, you know, and I don't know. It was cool. It was cool. It was fun to watch, though. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing. But yeah, man, let's get into it. First of all, we had Triple G over the weekend. Before I get to the Canelo fight, I just want to say, man, I don't know what Triple G looked like. I don't know, like he rewind time. I don't know, Chris. Like, did you think that too, man? I don't know. What was your opinion about that? Did you think this Triple G looked like pretty young?
Like on the scale, he looked like he rewound time, but in the ring, his opponent, you couldn't really tell. I can't really tell, to be honest with you, because the opponent just isn't. It was an IBF Mando, and sometimes that's really good, like Derevyanchenko, and sometimes it's really bad. I'm not saying he looked bad by any stretch, but I can't say he rewound time because the opponent level, you know?
Mm-hmm. I agree, but man, I don't know. I think he had. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, I think he looked really good, man. I mean, he scored those knockdowns and then finished the fight. I think, I didn't think it was like a brutal knockout like his usual style, but man, I think I did like it. Like, I did think like, oh man, this guy, man, Triple G is actually looking faster, and he was looking pretty sharp in there. So, but I mean, it was his level of opponent, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying he looked good and everything. And also, let me on the undercard. They had what was it that Akhmedov, there's Gongora, man. I just gotta say that fight was dope. I think it was fight of the night for them. Dude, I don't know. I liked it a lot just because there was so much back and forth. If casual fans got to not see it, I suggest you watch that one back on DAZN, man. If you subscribed for this month, for the Canelo fight. So I would tell them, man, to definitely just go back and watch that one because that one was fireworks, man. That one, I don't know. The way it ended was dope, man. It was just like really, really, really good. And I believe he's from Ecuador. So, just shout him out to him, Carlos Gongora. So shout out to him, man, a new champion. So I don't know, he looked good, man. So, and that fight was just dope. It was just the right timing for a fight before the Triple G or so. You know what I mean? Because I think it was on the undercard. But also,
probably
man,
the best fight of the weekend as far as like back and forth and then a knockout. That was one of the best, if not the best, actual fights where it's super competitive.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely probably fight of the weekend, man. 100%, man. But casual fans, go back and watch that one. It was dope. And but also, let's get into it, man. Canelo Smith, man. What a fight this was. I thought, going into this fight, you already know, Chris. I was backing up Canelo. We're Canelo fans over here, so we're waving the flag for this guy. But man, I don't know. That fight was an excellent fight for Canelo. I really thought Smith was going to do a lot more impressive shit where we're going to see Canelo get tested back and forth. But, man, I don't know. He just made it look, I don't know, to my opinion, he made it look easy. Like I said before, he made the Giant look like, just like he's just shelled up. You know what I mean? The smaller man got to him. He was picking him apart. You know what I mean? It was beautiful. It was like a beautiful pressure, fight. You know what I mean? From Canelo, like picking him apart, not brawling with him, but picking up getting the fight to him like at certain spots. And the way when he had him like on the ropes and everything, man, it was dope because the way he was landing was insane. And I couldn't just believe how ordinary he made it like Smith look, man. It was incredible, man. What can I say about this fight? But Canelo it was an amazing fight for him, and Now he moves on, man. How can you deny this guy not being pound for pound, man? I mean, I've never been a pound for pound guy, made a list or anything. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, everybody just makes their favorite fighters list. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
Exactly.
For certain people, you know what I mean? It all becomes all watered down and
yeah,
dude, and it's
too.
eye test, and then who's behind, who's got the biggest promoter like ESPN. They'll promote the hell out of you, you know, and you know what I mean. But this is just proving that Canelo is, you know, if not number one, you know what I mean. I don't know who's above him, man. It's insane. Like, he got the best guy, 168. It's insane. Like, I believe, man, I think Canelo looks a lot better at 168, and I believe this is where he should stay. But you know, in all honesty, man, that Triple G fight, I'm not, you know, I think it should be next, you know, and we know, I just feel like if that fight is next, which seems like, I think Triple G needs to go up. Like, I don't think Canelo should go down. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes any sense. Like, Canelo holding like this, you know what I mean? Let's face it, he's the A side. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a lot of power. He's got control. You know, who knows who he signs with next year, man? You know, he seems pretty cool with Eddie Hearns. You know what I mean? It seems like that relationship is going to continue. But we'll see if we can, you know, make good fights. But for Canelo, I would like to actually see that Triple G fight next. I know I said before I didn't want it, but the way Triple G looked in his last fight with that guy, I think, you know, it's just, you know, he gave a solid performance to get a fight like that. Because I mean, let's face it, Canelo, like, he just did a big fight. You know what I mean? I think he could, you know, take a, you know, stay busy. You know, take a stay busy fight, like which I think it is if Triple G does move up, and I think that's what should happen. Because I'm not really like feeling BJ Saunders. You know, his last performance was really lousy. He didn't look great. You know, he didn't look anything to talk about. You know, come Tuesday.
Second to last.
Mm-hmm.
Because he looked good against Murray, though. Yeah.
You think so? I don't know. I think. Yeah. I don't know. It's just I just don't believe he looks solid to me.
You know, compared to the one right before where he was like, looked like shit. So I guess the bar's not high there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, plus he's not there to make excitement fights. I don't know, he's there to talk. He'll make an exciting build up, but I just feel I don't know, man. I don't know. You know what I mean? It all comes to the fight. I think he would make it entertaining, but I just don't feel BJ Saunders deserves that the next fight with Canelo. I would like for Canelo to just, you know, fight like the PBC guys, Plant and you know, and Benavidez, and I think those fights would be fucking really insane and dope, and they're not out of the realm of possibility. Like, just knowing that who Canelo's fighting, man, it's just insane. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's what I would like to see for Canelo up next. You know what I mean? So. And then, you know, it was pretty cool too. If that this fight was also like you could view it anywhere. It was pay-per-view, DAZN, and you know, so I thought that was pretty cool for marketing. You know, for Canelo, you know what I mean. So, which makes me think, you know, for them doing this, it makes me think that Canelo's probably not signing back to DAZN. Him making this pay-per-view, you know, available for that. Like, I don't know. I would really like to see Canelo. Be independent, see maybe probably sign with Heyman. I think, you know, that would be dope. But like I said earlier, I think him and Hearns are, you know, they seem like they're getting along. So that's probably what's going on in the future. But don't know, you know what I mean? It's all up to him. But yeah, man, So but yeah, as far as that fight, it was pretty cool for Canelo. He looked like another level. I believe he is pound for pound. What can I say, man? He finished 2020, like, you know, really good, man. Like, and you know, it's pretty cool that he took the type of level of opponent, you know, in this era, you know. So yeah, because he could have really just taken like a chump. Anybody, he could have taken like a Triple G, a partner style. What's up?
That Yildirim, he could have taken that Yildirim fight too, just to get the fight in and make some money, you know. That WBC,
definitely.
Dude.
And which was
because
and
I mean, first of all, it's like $50 million. It's like $50 million, dude. Like, you know, that's a lot of money. And a lot of people are saying they don't want to see it, but you know damn well, come fight week, come Saturday night, you're gonna watch it. you know, you're gonna watch it, and you don't even have to do pay-per-view if you have the zone. So this whole a lot of people complaining about this, and it's like, dude, so you're telling me the first two fights were great fights. So was it the strangest thing that they do a third? No, it's not. You know, why not cash in right now on both sides? Golovkin should cash in too. I'm, for one, not going to – I'm going to be in favor of it. I'm not going to be hating on it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. I agree with you. But before if I could be honest, like before Triple G's this Friday fight, I didn't think he deserved it. You know what I mean? Because he was like we said, like I spoke with you before that saying like he's not doing nothing. You know, he's just staying on the bench waiting for a Canelo deal to happen. And so, I agree with you now. Like I think the Triple G fight would be good right now for May. So. You know, I think that would be good for 2021. But we'll see what happens with this whole thing. You know what I mean? Who knows? You know, I mean, we're still in this COVID thing going on. So hopefully everything is cleared. Everything's good for 2021. I don't know, but we'll see, man. But as far as that, Chris, don't have too much to say. Let me get out of here. Let me just say too, have a happy holidays. To you and your family, man. During this time. Let's all be merry. Let's all drink up. Let's all put something in the air, man. Let's just be all happy, man. Let's be positive. Let's end 2020 in a positive manner, man. You know what I mean? I know we got one more show, but I just want to, wish you happy holidays, man. Yeah. And Viva Rope-a-Dope and Viva Mexico.
Oh yeah, man. Appreciate it. Right back at you, to you and yours. Merry Christmas, like I said at the beginning of the show. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Or maybe you don't celebrate anything. That's cool with me, too. I don't care. Whatever you're into or not into, it is not whatever you're into. I suppose there could be something where I'm like, nah, I'm good, dude. Nah, I'm not going to worship that. But just spend some time with the family and friends. And Christmas is usually a little bit more tighter knit. So you can get away with the COVID stuff, right? Rather than, I'd say, Thanksgiving, which kind of brings in a bunch of cousins and a bunch of people and extra people, their couples and stuff, like your uncle and the significant other or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's just more people, it seems like, at least in my family and a lot of people I know, that, Thanksgiving is more of a bigger thing than Christmas. Christmas is a little bit more spend time with the folks, the family, whatever you got to do. Some people don't have their folks here. Thoughts and prayers to everybody. Have a good one, no doubt about it. Oh, man, this freaking – I got some time still. I wish I kind of knew who this was texting me. I must have deleted the number years ago. But, yeah, this dude, I assume, I guess I can't stereotype. He said that the ring – so he's saying – okay, I'm going to address it right now. So he's saying that I ducked the Spence Garcia pay-per-view numbers that weren't out yet when I did the show on Tuesday. He said the Ring City USA is better already than Showbox, which is just disrespectful. Not even the people at Ring City behind it would probably say that. But I hope it does good. He did use some ratings argument as far as he used older ratings with main events, I believe. Yeah, main events and then PBC, because remember they were on NBC Sports Network as well. So basically saying those type of ratings that you're going to get are going to be way more than FS1 and way more than Showtime. And eventually they probably will be. But I actually, funny you say, from Brooklyn Brawler, he's a good ratings person to follow, by the way. So this is just an example. And basically, all sports and all TV right now shows, the ratings are all down. So let's keep this in perspective. But I'm just using facts, okay? I'm not arguing. I want Ring City USA. I want Showbox. I want ESPN. I want everybody to do good. FS1's been pretty solid, though, overall. They don't put on a lot of big fights by any stretch of imagination, but it's been pretty solid, which is, kind of what we're probably hopefully going to get with Ring City USA. They're not going to put on large. They don't have the budget either. Anyway, so that was December 3rd that this guy's complaining about that I didn't cover this event in the recap. So Ring City Boxing averaged 88,000 viewers, and I don't think FS1 is done below 100,000 with the BBC. But I'm just using facts, okay? Just like people got mad at me for explaining the rules to Tyson and Jones. That was hating, right? Ring City Boxing averaged 88,000 viewers that night. By comparison, the Spence Porter on the same night, the Spence Porter pay-per-view, which I think means a 2-hour card. They're basically around 2 hours, both of them, I believe. Sometimes those are 3. FS1 and FS2 plays a lot of boxing from the BBC, obviously. But that same night, 88,000 for Ring City, USA. The same night, the Spence Porter, which happened, 16 months ago? 15 months ago? It got 91,000. Brawler said Ring City has a lot to work ahead of them. I'm all for it, though, by the way. So you're telling me that a replay on FS1, not a live event, which it usually does at least 150, 190, that's right now. Usually it would do between 200 and 300,000. And remember, I've always said the replays, they replay the fight like 5 times the whole event. And you're not going to get 91,000 every time. Maybe you'll get 25 or 50, but it adds up, is my point. And they don't play the Ring City Boxing as many times replay yet, anyway. But come on. First of all, it's better than Showbox. Let them breathe a little bit. Let them have some time before you say that. Anyway, what else? So I ducked the Spence Garcia pay-per-view numbers, and he's saying I ducked it because the only pay-per-view number that was out was from Bob Arum. So I was supposed to just use Bob Arum, who's not just the competitor of the BBC, but literally has a horse in the race, Terrence Crawford. So you really think, like, I know Woodsy, who's done this multiple times now with Bob Arum, he preferences it by saying he could, he says he has a lot of sources over the last 50, 60 years to know it. I'm not doubting that part, but to act like he couldn't lie, like he's not biased, like I said, he has a horse in the race. So I was supposed to only go on that. I like to wait for 2 to actually report it. And Coppinger came out and said excess of 250,000 buys. And usually when that gets reported, excess means more than. So the baseline is there, meaning now it's just a matter of how much it does over the next, I bought mine on Fight TV. That's on Roku. So it takes a while for the bill to go there, whatever. So, but excess is 250. Now, when he reports them and other people report them, sometimes it'll be like 250, but not more than, 275 or 300, but not more than 325 or less than 350. He just said excess of 250,000, meaning it could be 270. It could be 310. We don't know. Now, Bob said, what did he say? Lucky if they get to 120. But that's Bob Arum. Like, it's not about the sources. It's about if he's going to lie or not. And the whole media with this whole, not only did Woodsy put out the piece, but then once Coppinger, it was an editorial, by the way. Once Coppinger came out with his report, then he went back to Bob, and Bob said, nope, that's wrong. So now we just get our numbers from Bob, even though it's, a competition with them. But anyway, overall, it's funny because right around 300,000 would never get dogged like it normally does now. It used to never really get dogged. And if you look at, Garcia, or the last one, Porter, Spence, Coppinger, and others reported it, that it for sure went over 300,000, maybe land under 350, somewhere in that realm. That's what he said. And Mikey Garcia generated over 300, whether that's 320 or 360. Like, I think Dan Raphael reported that. I don't know. But my point is, from 250 to like 450, those were never like destroyed. And when you look at some of these numbers, and it's funny, because I just Googled something really quick. It's super easy, you know. But look at this. So if you look at last Spence 3 in a row, right? Let's just say they all did about 300,000, because like I said, we know two of them did more than 300,000. Could be 360. I'm not sure. Could be 330. But I'm willing to just say those two pay-per-views, we know they went over 300,000. Whether they got the 350 or a little over, whatever. One of them, I don't know. But let's just say 300,000. And for this, excess of 250, like I said, that could be 270. It also could be 290 or 310, whatever. We'll just say these three fights averaged about 300,000 in that realm. So obviously, you could take 25,000 off of the last one and say it did 275. That's fine. But like I said, on the other side, you're losing about 100,000 there. So whatever. My point is, the reason I'm saying this, for three fights, that's right around $1 million, 900,000 to $1 million. Quick little Google talking about the Pacquiao-Morales trilogy, all three fights. So I have Dan Rafael. This is 11 days after the fight, November 18th. This is November 29th, 2006. Dan Rafael and then Taffet from HBO. And by the way, this year they did in 2006 they did 11 pay-per-views. That's just HBO did 11, and that was their second. I think the second most they've done. So it says here 350,000 was the trilogy, 350,000, which is what a lot of people thought. You know, very close. What the two ones before that did that. And remember, the Danny Garcia Spence fight, the pay-per-view, came after a September, October, the November, which was Tyson a week before, and then he had to go behind Tyson. Clearly not the best thing there, right? So this is how it was reported back in the day. So they go over the prices, and in some of these lower weight classes, they had to, take $5 or $10 off of them. Anything like below 135, something like. So some of them are, $50, which was the price back then. Some are like 44 bucks, whatever. But together, all of them combined for $1 million pay-per-view buys. The Pacquiao-Morales trilogy, basically $1 million and basically $50 million in revenue. And this is what Taffet said. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. With over $1 million buys and nearly $50 million in revenue, it's remarkable. And it is remarkable because of, they were lower weight guys. And that wasn't, you at least had to be a welterweight at that time. But like I said, they did 11 pay-per-views that year. 11. 6 of them, or the other 7, because they had Oscar and Mayorga, did 925,000. The other 7 did 325,000 to 425, right, and somewhere there. And then there's 3 that did much smaller. Okay, so when you look at this, look at Marquez Barrera, right? That did 225,000. That's not ripping it. I'm just saying what the numbers are, and they didn't rip it in here. We're pleased with the pay-per-view performance from Barrera Marquez. Now, the minimums were lower then, but then again, you get a better cut, 60-40 from the pay-per-view now, and you also have digital, which they said is from 10 to 12 or 10 to 15%. So, this is what they were saying, and he talked about how Barrera fought Rocky Juarez, and that did 165,000. It fell short of over 300,000, which was the rubber match, the trilogy, Morales and Barrera. His best performance was 310. That came against Naseed Hamed. And at that time, they were kind of wondering before the Morales was like, well, was that Hamed or was that Barrera or was that kind of a combination of both? And so that led them to believe, that 300,000, now that they went over 300,000 again in that Morales-Barrera, the one I just read, that Barrera had a lot to do with it. That was what, this is LA Times, this is ESPN.com. So it is what it is. And Bob Arum, by the way, said he was going to do $1 million, and it ended up doing 350. But Pacquiao Barrera does nearly 350,000 buys, $3 million at the gate. it got reported, and then they moved on. You know, it wasn't this, oh, my God, this is horrible. Oh, my God, it's killing the sport. If PBC did 11 pay-per-views, could you imagine what it would be? And those weren't all great pay-per-views. But anyway, so there's your little Spence Garcia stuff, and I'm just using facts to show you what I'm talking about. So here's another one. This is somebody else. They said I didn't rip DAZN for doing a pay-per-view. Once again, this is kind of like reading the rules for Tyson and Jones, and that's hating. I said it's $70, but you get 4 months of DAZN, which, what was it, $17.50 instead of $20 a month? So you're saving $250 a month for 4 months. So basically, the main event just happened, and then the next 4 months are the undercard fights. Does that sound like a normal pay-per-view to you? I digress. Okay, what else? There's been a lot of, well, we know the double standards. I talked about the double standards that you hear a bunch of dudes that are real. Like, we jumped on Wilder on this show, but you got Usyk making up glove excuses against Chisora. You got Loma coming out saying the judges were bribed. You got Golovkin talking about catching a body when it comes to fighting Oscar De La Hoya, that he would take advantage of being able to legally, much like Wilder said. And, well, we know Kovalev. It's just ain't Kovalev. Anyway, it's funny, dude. It's funny, man. Some of this stuff's funny. Okay, we have a little bit more time. Oh, I wanted to get to that Heredia Boxing Management. This is by Jake Donovan, BoxingScene.com. By the way, it's an in-depth interview, but it's in plain language for the most part, considering the technicality stuff of this lawsuit. And it's a short read considering how in-depth it is. So check it out right now. It was on Sunday. Heredia Boxing Management files 9-count complaint against MTK Global, Daniel Kinahan, and Golden Boy. Now, this is management company, Heredia Boxing. And Moses Heredia had filed a 9-count complaint against, like I said, the Dubai-based management, MTK co-founder, and then the chief strategy officer, Gibson, along with Golden Boy. The allegations include 4 counts of racketeering against MTK, Kinahan, Gibson, 4 counts of interference against MTK in VJC, which is the law firm LLC with Gibson, and then 1 breach of promoter-manager contract against Golden Boy. The case was filed in the U.S. District Court, Central District of California, December 18th. Some of this, 2 boxers named in the lawsuit, Jojo Diaz and Luis Feliciano, was a prospect. We know Jojo Diaz. MTK management contract with Mr. Diaz was entered in a violation of California law, federal law, and complete disregard, established lawful management contract, Mr. Diaz, yada, yada, yada. So basically, this is either a warning shot saying, hey, I want out of my contract, or, you know, I don't know. There's some, you know, obviously the drug trafficking, the money laundering type stuff, obviously with the MTK Global is involved in this stuff. We'll see where this lawsuit goes. Lawsuit comes nearly 4 months after Heredia filed a request for arbitration, immediately following the news that Diaz signed advisor pact with MTK Global in August. The case was approved and reviewed by the California State Athletic Commission. So anyway, we'll see where that lawsuit goes. I really don't want to get too deep on it because we just don't know a whole lot of it. You know what I mean? But I'm just putting that out there. We'll see how many U.S.-based folks cover this one. You know, they had a lot of bad stuff to say about a lot of people. Al Heyman was crooked, right? Al Heyman ran out of the music business. That's what they said. Anyway, it's about to shut us down. So there's not much left in the show. I'll just kind of do some boxing Twitter, and then we'll see what's going on. Oh, actually, this is Ryan McNeil. I know 2 main event card fighters just this month that had COVID leading up to their fights, but didn't disclose it to UFC because they didn't want to get pulled. UFC sold for $4 billion a few years ago. In 2020, their employees were told they could fight or starve. What else we got here by the time this thing shuts down on me? Oh, easy money. Callium Smith plus 500, which I didn't see that much. People are writing off Callium Smith. This guy destroyed and walked down the previous number one. He's talking about Groves. I'm going to bet $500 on him by winning decision. This is going to end up looking like Loma Lopez. Canelo couldn't even knock out Chavez Jr. No way he walks down Smith. All right, I'm going to shut the show down. Enjoy the holiday season, whatever you do, whatever you celebrate. Spend some time with people you love.